Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's engineering product and TPM talk. Shout out to Knowledge Creations 1000X. In the next three talks or episodes, I want to deep dive into the system design of X, formerly known as Twitter. If you recall, in previous talks, and there'll be links at the end of the videos, I introduced us to the system design interview framework, where there are 7 steps, beginning with requirements clarification, all the way through identifying bottlenecks. And I said, after introducing the framework, the next thing that'll be done is I would actually apply this to a system design and quite a few system designs. So we're starting with X, Twitter. Hope you're excited for that. So we like to start with a thought, right? For each episode. So today's thought of the day is from FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was the longest serving United States president. He won 4, believe that, presidential elections. And his words are, men are not prisoners of fate, but only prisoners of their own minds. Men are not prisoners of fate, but only prisoners of their own mind. Well, that is loaded. Let me know what you think about him and this quote in the comments below. So quite quickly, these talks are for technical program managers, or TPMs, product TPMs, as they're called in Meta, other companies, system engineering program managers, engineering leads, etc. Right? So in part 1, I will cover the introduction to Twitter, what are the requirements that will shape our system design, um, what are the goals of the system. Now, anyone that has looked at the system design interview framework, the video, will see that I mentioned that it's good to start early to identify what the goal of the system is, because that will make it easier to fashion out your solution. As one of the popular Amazon leadership principles states, leaders start with the customer and then they work backwards. They work vigorously to earn and keep customer trust, right? So the meta point is that you can and perhaps should pay attention to competitors, but at the end of the day, what really matters is being obsessive over your customers. It's the same thing for a system design interview. So you have an interview coming up. This is for you. Um, we've said recent Financial Times article says that early career opportunities are being cut across lots of companies in the United States, and not just the US. This is across the world. You know, see big names that are reducing white collar jobs. They are having flat headcount, etc. So, so it is a tough market for jobs right now, and um, do not be a prisoner of your own mind, right? Do not be a prisoner of your own mind. I knew the thought of the day was going to come in handy. Okay, so let's just go right in. Right. So, what is Twitter? This is my Twitter page. Not many followers, as you can see. You can raise it up for me if you want by following. So this is my Twitter page. What can you do? Ooh, there's a post to the previous. There's a link to the previous system design interview, which is about to come out. You can follow people, as you can see. People can follow you. Uh, their replies, their highlights, their articles. There's media, which means that there's text and video you can post, right? Yeah, so there are quite a few things that you can do on Twitter, right? It's my link to my YouTube, etc. Okay. So what are the requirements based on just this brief introduction? I think as a user, you want to be able to post new tweets. You want to be able to follow other users. We showed the number of users I had. You want to be able to mark tweets as favorite or pin them to make it easier to see your favorite tweets. Those are functional requirements. In terms of NFRs or non-functional requirements, your service needs to be available, right? You need to have a latency. In other words, fast is your favorite feature. You want tweets to publish quickly. People want to be able to read tweets from their favorites quick. You need to be consistent, right? So consistency, there's a cap theorem, consistency, availability, and performance. And in terms of our NFRs for this Twitter system, we're saying that consistency can take a hit in the interest of availability. In other words, if a user doesn't see a tweet for a while, that's fine as far as it's relevant. Okay. There are extended requirements, such as, searching for a tweet, being able to search for a tweet, being able to reply a tweet. So someone posts a tweet to you and you reply back almost like a thread. Trending topics. We want to capture trending topics, things that are topical of the day. That could create modifications to the way the system is designed. Do you want to tag other users, tweet notifications, who do you follow, etc. Right? Do we need moments? Now, a completed view of the functional and non-functional requirements that we're going to design to is here. I will just give you a moment to just look at it. And the reason why it's important to understand this is because we are essentially designing our system to meet these requirements. So that's the reason why requirements clarification is always the first step and it's really a good thing to do, right? Okay, so the next thing that we want to look at is the system, the capacity estimation and constraints, right? So the first thing in this section, what you really do here is you start to make assumptions about how your system would be, what system you're designing for. So for instance, you could say that you have 1 billion total users, you have 200 million or 20% of those 1 billion users is just 80-20% rule. Now, 200 of those users, 200 million of those are daily active users. You can assume that there are 100 million new tweets every day, and on average, every user follows 200 other people, right? So the first question that will bring up is, okay, so how many favorites, right? One of our requirements was being able to tag favorites. So if on the average, every user favorites 5 tweets per day, that means we're going to have 1 billion favorites. Just hold that number. Then another question could be, so how many total tweet views will our system generate, right? So in other words, for each tweet, how many viewers, how many eyeballs on tweets will we see? So again, you have to make assumptions. So for this design, we are assuming that on average, every user goes to their own timeline twice a day, maybe AM and PM, morning and evening, and visits 5 other people's pages. When I showed you my timeline, I didn't even go to any other person's page. Then on each page, if a user sees, say, 40 tweets, that means that our system, our X/Twitter make-believe system, will generate 56 billion per day total tweet views. Okay? Yep, got those numbers right. And then the next thing you want to consider is storage, right? So you understand the number of daily active users, you understand what the traffic is going to be. Then you know where you're going to store that traffic, right? So an assumption we can make is, let's say each tweet has 140 characters. Now we know the real Twitter or the real X has now upended the maximum limit of characters. Before it used to be 140, now that's changed, but we're designing for our make-believe Twitter system, right? If we say 140 characters and each character will have 2 bytes, right? Then let's say we need 30 bytes to store the metadata, right? So each tweet, in addition to the payload, there'll be metadata. There'll be things like ID, timestamp associated with each tweet, right? Then we can say that the total storage that we would require would be 100 million new tweets times the storage for the characters, which is the payload, and the metadata. That's 30 gigabytes per day of storage. Now, to be a little bit commonsensical, not all tweets will have media, right? So let's assume that on average, 10% of our tweets will have videos and 20% of our tweets will have an image. Then if we also assume the data size of each, the average of each video and average of each photo is 200 kilobytes and 2 megabytes, then we can say that each day we need to store 24 terabytes of data per day. Okay. Then the last thing that we need for our conceptual system is the bandwidth, right? Okay. So how much bandwidth? So if we say the total ingress, that's the total amount of storage we have is 24 terabytes. We divide it by day. So the amount times 86,400 seconds in a day. Then this means we require 290 megabytes per second, right? Now, if we have 56 billion tweets per day, and we need to show the photo, if it has a photo and video, then the total ingress we would expect to see is 35 gigabytes per second. Okay. I'll let you stew on those numbers a bit. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the first part one. To recap, we have looked at X, formerly known as Twitter. We've looked at the possible requirements and goals of the system. We have looked at the capacity estimates and constraints, and we've looked at the capacity estimates and constraints. So in part two, we're going to pick up from the system APIs. Now, let me know in the comment section if you would approach this differently. Let me know if you look at a different set of requirements. Let me know if you think this actually covers what Twitter should be for you. Okay. So thank you very much for part one. I will see you in the next session.